Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Southern Fried Podcast, a production of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. I'm Rex Nelson, senior editor of the Democrat-Gazette. I'm delighted to have an old friend with me this morning, Deke Whitbeck. Deke is president of the Arkansas Game and Fish Foundation, and Deke, with modern gun, deer season, duck season, all cranking up, I thought it was just perfect time of year to have you in today.
Well, it's great to be here. This is the first time that I think I've been with you where we're not on the road, or having a plate dinner somewhere,
a good meal somewhere. Yeah, I wish we were on the road. Actually, we need to plan our next road trip.
Indeed, but great to be here and great to be with y'all.
Good time of year for that. Now, those of us who have been involved with the foundation through the years, we know. But I have a idea that a lot of the people listening to this podcast don't know the difference between the Arkansas Game and Fish Foundation, which you head, and the agency, the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. So kind of outline for us, if you will, the difference between those two.
Well, that's a very common question that we get. The Arkansas Game and Fish Foundation was created in 1982. So we're actually celebrating our 40th
anniversary
in existence. Yeah. We're a 501c3 nonprofit specifically designed to help the efforts of the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. So we do so in a lot of ways of kind of filling the gaps, whether that's in some funding or some events or programs, even getting into some policy and advocacy work for the agency.
I know you're involved in just a slew of activities. Let's walk through some of those, the activities that you do, how they get more people involved in the outdoors, the ones that are focused on fundraising. Just let's walk through a few of those so people can get a sense of what the foundation does on a week-to-week basis.
You know, really, we touch any and every division within the agency, but the education division is one that we really sort of highlight or hit on, because that's part of our charter of 501c is that education aspect, and the agency has a division. There's almost 100 educators throughout the state of Arkansas that work for the commission, whose job it is to bring new people to the outdoors, and they do so in such a great way through area educators, but also through our nature centers and conservation centers that you and I've been to, for instance, down in
absolutely, and I'm going to get to some of those later. But
we help with the education, I would say, is kind of our primary focus. But we have a new program called Get It for Game Wardens, where folks can help lean in and support our game wardens with needed equipment and gear for them to be safe and effective out in the field doing their jobs. We're very heavily involved with the youth shooting sports program, which is a tremendous success and been recognized nationally for that.
I was going to say, I understand that we have one of the top programs in the country for both youth shooting sports and youth archery. Is that not correct?
Absolutely.
Among the top in America.
Gosh, I actually just got back from a conference up in Columbia, Missouri. Midway USA Foundation is really responsible for a lot of the growth. That's Larry and Brenda Potterfield, who own Midway USA, but they've created a foundation to promote youth shooting sports across the country. And the Game and Fish Commission was really a leader in jumping on with that organization. And I think there's 5,000 kids annually that shoot competitively in AYSSP, as we call it, including my daughter, Kate, who is over at Episcopal Collegiate School, and yours truly is the coach of that team.
Oh, you're the coach at Episcopal, okay.
So it brings in kids from every aspect, walk of life, and it's a way to introduce them to the outdoors in a safe way, teaching safety, but also patience and skills that they may not pick up otherwise. I love the program. I love youth shooting sports and archery aspect as well.
Absolutely. Let me get down to facilities. You mentioned the nature centers. You and I have talked about it. One of the things I take pride in is when I joined the governor's office, and I joined it the day that Mike Huckabee took office, actually July 15th of 96, the first big project that I worked on as Policy and Communications Director in the governor's office was passage of Amendment 75, which I think has been one of the greatest things we've ever done as a state. 45% of that went to the Game and Fish Commission. 45% went to create what I now think is the finest system of state parks in America. 9% went to what was then the Department of Heritage. Now it's the Division of Heritage after restructuring, and the 1% to keep Arkansas beautiful. But one of the main things that Game and Fish wanted to do with its 45% was create these nature centers. They saw that in urban areas especially, there were fewer kids that grew up like you and I did, hunting and fishing, and that they needed an introduction to the outdoors. So nature centers in Little Rock, in Pine Bluff, in Jonesboro, and Fort Smith would give them an introduction to the outdoors for the first time ever. You have since added what's called the Crown Jewel. Northwest Arkansas, of course, is one of the fastest growing areas of the country. You have added a nature center there. And I know there's also been a rebranding of the 4, what we used to call conservation education centers. We call them nature centers now. But let's start with the 5 urban ones. Am I on target as saying, although adults are welcome and
Absolutely.
I love all of them, that the primary goal is to get our young people really familiar with the outdoors in Arkansas?
I think you're spot on with that. The education division leans into the local area schools, so there's constantly field trips coming through. These were not built to just be a museum. I mean, there are hands-on, that we want kids to come in, and visitors, as you mentioned, grown-ups and tourists or whoever's coming through the state, to really have a place to roll up their sleeves, to experience the outdoors in a controlled setting, then go out and experience in the great state of Arkansas through all of the WMAs and other areas that we have to get out. And I'm not musical at all. I don't have a musical bone in my body, and this is maybe a little bit of a stretch, but I was never introduced to that as a kid either.
Right.
So you could be looking at a world-class trombone player for all we know, but the point of that is, without these places to light the flame of our next outdoor enthusiast or conservationist, that's exactly the goal of these. And there are 5 now. You mentioned the Northwest Arkansas Nature Center that was really came to reality because of a gift from the John L. Hunt family and the city of Springdale donating the property. That's a unique one of our centers because it sits on 65 acres. And so what you learn in the classroom or you experience through one of the exhibits, you can go right outside on the grounds and go down to the Spring Creek or go out to the quail area.
And yet it is literally abuts Interstate 49, so it is so accessible to that whole urban area.
Absolutely is. And a lot of times we've talked to the museum and these nature centers across the country, and they say that's a great thing because someone who's new to it or new to experiencing the outdoors, they feel sort of comforted in seeing and hearing the traffic maybe, but really once you're enclosed and kind of that environment, you are in the outdoors. You absolutely are, right in the heart of Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, you and I, one of the first trips I made, I didn't travel at all till I could get my whole family fully vaccinated, and I was so anxious to see that. As you know, one of the first trips I made was with you to see that nature center once my whole family was fully vaccinated in the spring of last year.
We did. That center has been open since December of 2020. So we're kind of grand opening right in the middle of the pandemic, but since it is just it's taken off, and visitors from all over are stopping through, especially the school-age children in Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah. Now let's go to the 4 really more rural, if you will, conservation education nature centers. I'm delighted you have a book that you brought on your 40th anniversary, and one of the photos over there is the historic Line Oil Company Lodge at Casco. You and I made a road trip over there earlier, and gosh, what a special place. And I got my corned beaver sandwich for
Oh, my
lunch
gosh.
there. Now, I'm talking real Arkansas beaver, folks. This is trapped Arkansas beaver, right?
Beaver?
We're not making this up.
We sure did, and a catfish etouffee, French fries that was
With
made
wild Arkansas flathead
by
catfish.
Will
in it.
Hafner
Yeah.
can really cook it
Will
up over
can
there.
cook some outdoor food. Some of you who follow that, he does online videos for the Game and Fish Commission, and may have seen some of his. Also offers cooking classes over there too.
Well, that's part of the really, as we talked about these centers. It's kind of a next step for someone who's new to the outdoors. You've been to the Pine Bluff Nature Center. Now, what's the next opportunity to go and learn more about hunting or fishing? And that's what these, as we used to call them, conservation centers, are now housed in the Nature Center. So you go to Casco, and Will and the education team over there has youth duck hunts lined up. They'll do a mentor deer hunt, the fishing opportunity. So again, it's just a next step in the progress of one who's wanting to learn more about hunting and fishing in the outdoors. Yeah, it's really a cool program.
Absolutely, and again, beautiful locations. This one is on an oxbow lake, the one near Casco on an oxbow lake. That connects to the White River National Wildlife Refuge, and that is just such a fascinating part of Arkansas to me. We used to have these millions of acres literally along both sides of the lower Mississippi River, known as the Big Woods, and now the largest remaining tract of the old bottomland Big Woods is actually the White River National Wildlife Refuge and the Cache River Wildlife Refuge. I mean, we have an international treasure really right here in Arkansas.
Absolutely. And the Potlatch Casco Center is right in the heart of those big woods. I mean, you feel as though you're driving to the end of the world sometimes.
Cypress trees that are hundreds of
gorgeous.
years old, for instance. Yeah.
And so for a kid to catch their first fish, perhaps in that setting, I mean, it's inspiring to, for those of us who are mentors and want to introduce someone to the outdoors. What a incredible setting and to do that. And we're really lucky as in the state to have such centers. I had a man from Mississippi come over and toured that facility with me, and he just goes, "Man, this is incredible." He says, "This is the commission runs this place?" I said, "Yes, sir." And we have lots of folks coming through each year to experience and really get their setting in the outdoors in Arkansas.
Exactly. Now let's go up to the mountains, and we will start with the Fred Berry Conservation Education Nature Center on Crooked Creek. Crooked Creek, long recognized as one of the great smallmouth bass streams in the country. In fact, I have some locals, and like me, they love the late Jerry McInnes, but locals I know that kid, and they say, Jerry almost ruined us because he made us too popular.
Right.
He used to put us on his national television shows, and we almost overfished the creek. But there's been a great effort over the last few decades to stop the gravel mining there, to bring it back. But another beautiful facility, and like I said, it's on one of the top smallmouth streams literally in the country.
Beautiful setting, and you're right. That's, again, run by the Game and Fish Commission. The Potlatch Center in Casco and the one we're talking about now in Yellville at Crooked Creek, those properties are actually owned by the foundation.
Right.
And so those were kind of developed with private donations. That's a function of the foundation in partnership with the Game and Fish Commission. Now, they run the education centers. They sort of run the programming there, but it's just a really good example of how the foundation can help take the education to different parts of the state and establish these centers for all to enjoy.
Another of those rural centers at Ponca, while we're in the mountains, we'll stay there. Of course, this is a great time of year to talk about it because people are there to watch both the leaves turn and the elk right now.
It's beautiful up there.
It's a great time of year for both of those. But of course, reintroducing elk to Arkansas has been one of the great success stories of the Game and Fish Commission in recent decades.
Yeah, and it's, you can drive up through that corridor, Jasper, and I love going up through Marshall and seeing folks pulled over on the side of the road, because you can catch a glimpse of the herd from time to time just being there. It's really a magical setting when the leaves are turning and the herd's on the run. Again, great success story for the Game and Fish Commission, and one that we want to certainly help continue.
And then getting down to my old stomping grounds in southwest Arkansas, you have Grandview Prairie near Hope. And blackland prairies used to be very common in southwest Arkansas. They are very rare now. So kind of like we're losing the big woods over in the Delta, for decades and decades, we were losing those blackland prairies. And this one we have saved, and there are all kinds of wildflowers, and there are all kinds of native grasses that you're just not going to find much anywhere else.
Yeah, we went down there as a group a couple of months ago. The commission actually met down in Texarkana, and one of the tours that the commissioners went on was out to Grandview Prairie. And this, I've got to say, Rex, is probably my favorite spot of the centers. I mean, I love them all like they're my kids, but this was so impressive with the native grasslands, with just to see the beauty of what it looked like.
When that was natural prairie.
It's incredible. And again, schools are coming out, groups are coming out there. They have a trap range set up out there now, fishing opportunities. It is really I do call Northwest Arkansas the crown jewel, but boy, this one in Southwest Arkansas is really something to see.
Well, we've listed 5 really what I consider urban ones, and then our 4 rural ones, but 9 nature centers, and they really are jewels for a state of only 3 million people. It's spectacular what we've been able to do with that Amendment 75 money. Let me get back to an event.
Yeah.
One of your big events of the year, probably your big event of the year at the foundation, is the Arkansas Outdoor Hall of Fame. Talk about that organization a little bit.
Well, the Outdoor Hall of Fame banquet started 31 years ago, and it is a fundraiser for our organization, but it's also a way that we recognize and honor these leaders in conservation across the state of Arkansas. And we have well over 100 inductees now, get to tell their story, get to inspire others who attend or who, just by talking about them may have someone else wanting to do for the better of the state. 1,500 people now are in attendance.
Oh, yeah. It's huge.
We raise a boatload of money to help support the agency. Another thing that I like to mention, Rex, when talking about the Outdoor Hall of Fame banquet, is it's a time to honor the hardworking men and women of the Game and Fish Commission. There's over 600 employees across the state, and we invite them to attend, to bring their spouse or a guest, and it's just a really fun setting to celebrate conservation in Arkansas.
Absolutely. It is. We'll be back with more of the Southern Fried Podcast, but first, this break. Hi, Rex Nelson here. Thanks for listening so far. A lot of the topics we cover here on the Southern Fried Podcast and many more can be found on the pages of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. If you'd like to support this great newspaper's commitment to bringing you the latest in Arkansas news, sports, and entertainment, consider subscribing to the Democrat-Gazette today. With your subscription, you'll get a digital edition of the newspaper every morning, along with the latest news and updates delivered to you on an iPad, provided at no extra cost. For just $34 a month, you'll get the same award-winning journalism you've come to expect from the Democrat-Gazette, including my 3 weekly columns, plus exclusive photo galleries, videos, articles, and digital extras, all in the palm of your hand. To sign up today, call 1-800-482-1121 or visit us online at arkansasonline.com/subscribe. Welcome back to the Southern Fried Podcast, a production of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. a couple of things, because I know you work so closely with the commission itself at the foundation. Big picture things I want to touch on, because I am as you know, a duck hunter and used to be a quail hunter when we had sizable wild quail populations in Arkansas decades ago. But the first is saving our public green tree reservoirs. And I don't think I am exaggerating when I say, and we're just on the front end of starting to do this, but this is one of the biggest initiatives by the commission in decades, and it is absolutely crucial, because a lot of people, when they think of Arkansas, they think of green tree duck hunting.
They do.
That's what they think of.
It is.
It's so closely associated with the entire culture of our state.
Well, I commend Director Booth and his leadership at the commission, the commissioners, and really everyone within the agency for taking this head on. It's there's not a silver bullet to this. I mean, funding is absolutely something that we have to address and have to be in some ways creative on the fundraising efforts to help save those green tree reservoirs. But it's a very real issue within the agency and a top priority. In
essence, what has happened is we have left water on those reservoirs as the climate has changed, as our systems have become antiquated. Both. You've got both of that working against you now, and so water is staying for months at a time sometimes, and it's killing our great oak trees.
Yeah,
right?
Unfortunately, the water tolerance is not what we've known or thought throughout the years, and so you're right, keeping the water on those trees is detrimental, and unfortunately when they start to die off, a more water tolerable tree will grow back. But unfortunately the fruit that it produces, the acorns, are not suitable for a duck to feed on, and so it goes greater than that. I mean, it goes greater than just a protein source for the ducks that are coming down the flyways. You've got to think also just the overall impact that losing one of those reservoirs would have beyond ducks.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all sorts of migratory birds coming down and coming through, and other opportunities that users and our constituents want to go out to enjoy those spaces. So it's a monumental effort. We know,
and it's long range. It's going to take years, right?
Yeah. But to your point, getting back and kind of thinking through some of the ways of holding water, when to hold water, how to release the water, those sort of things. And it's not just the agency. You know, a lot of times we're a mere landholder within a system, and so there's a lot of determining factors when thinking of getting that water on and off.
Yeah, huge effort. The other one, as I said, I wanted to mention, and like you said, we've road tripped. You've had to listen to my stories about growing up quail hunting, but like a lot of people my age, and I'm in my 60s, like a lot of people my age, I grew up, that's what we did. We always had at least 2 bird dogs, sometimes 3. My dad was a huge quail hunter all day Saturdays during the season, Sunday afternoons after church. We would even usually get out of the house on Christmas afternoon. My dad would ready to get out and smoke his pipe, and he'd say, let's go get those bird dogs some exercise. So that was part of our Christmas even after the big meal and opening the gifts in the morning, is to go out and do a quick quail hunt. Obviously, we saw changes in land use. We didn't allow fence rows to grow up anymore. We quit using our native grasses for pasture, fescue, things like that came into the state. So this is a complicated thing, but thankfully, and I've written a number of columns, as you know, on this subject. Thankfully, we had some commissioners that took a real interest in this. So again, another major initiative of the commission these days is working with private landowners in the state to try to bring back quail habitat.
Yeah, I'm glad you hit on that, Rex. You know, that the generation, I'd say your generation, you know, I've got to admit, I mean, that was not part of my upbringing. Duck hunting, yes, deer hunting, fishing.
I moved to Washington in 1986, so my last year to seriously quail hunt in Arkansas was 1985.
Yeah.
and it's pretty much been gone since then. So that's almost 40 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to your point there, the sentiment of the commissioners and to take on this initiative to reintroduce quail, but it in the state is priority. It really is a matter of getting the habitat conducive for. And so you brought up the private lands division at the Game and Fish Commission. That's going to be standalone. So they're going to bring that out of Wildlife Division and kind of come out on its own, which is going to be very dedicated to the efforts of this restoration of quail. That's something that Director Booth announced in his recent strategic plan, and something they're very serious about doing. I commend them for that. I don't know if there's a lot of other states who are focusing on private lands because it makes up 90% of the state is privately owned. If we can help teach private landowners and best practices, then it's just to the betterment for our wildlife. Director Booth will say in remarks that, a deer or quail or a turkey, they don't know a fence boundary, right?
No,
I mean,
not
they
at
just
all.
they see an area that's suitable for what they need to survive, and that's where they go. So this is a really exciting effort, again, that the commission has taken on.
Now, I hope that we've got some people listening out there that are saying to themselves right now, I understand the importance to the future of Arkansas of preserving our outdoor recreational attributes, enhancing them where we can. How do I get involved with the Game and Fish Foundation? So how should somebody get involved with you?
Well, we have a membership program that gets people plugged in and keeps them up to date on the happenings of the agency. So I encourage everyone to check out our website, agff.org. Lots of information there. We have all these new events that have come up across the state since I've come on board with the foundation. There's ways to plug in when we come down to Magnolia for the South Arkansas Outdoor Social, or up in Northwest Arkansas to our new End of the Wild banquet. Fort Smith, we've started a trap tournament, but those are ways to plug in. And so I and staff, we're trying to grow our footprint across the state to help folks plug into what the agency's doing and what the foundation is doing to help support them.
And one of the things you have done is you are building more and more partnerships with private business, with even higher education. You mentioned Magnolia, and the president of Southern Arkansas University, Trey Berry, is a childhood friend of mine. Yeah. So I'm biased, but mention the fact that they're creating a whole, what they call a conservation campus down there, which I think is very exciting.
Really, really forward thinking on the agency's part of partnering with higher ed on some of these. There are great programs at SAU, at Arkansas Tech, and others throughout of wildlife management. But again, in order to have that practice on the landscape, what SAU's doing on their Laney farm is you're able to learn in the classroom.
This was former Governor Ben Laney, and his family donated that land, which is really adjacent to campus, but it's wild land outside of Magnolia, wild, pristine land.
Absolutely. It's just a blank canvas for instructors to go out and really teach on the ground what a future biologist conservationist can do in practice. It's really exciting what they're doing, taking that to the next level.
In a post-pandemic economy, we see more and more people saying, okay, I learned during the pandemic, as long as I've got broadband internet, I can do my job from wherever I want to. More and more people are going, I think, to where they can find outdoor recreation really close to where they live and work. Mountain View was recently featured in the New York Times, of all places, and they were quoting some people from out of state who have moved to Mountain View for that very reason. They wanted to be close to outdoor recreation. So what we're talking about, and I've written about this extensively, these outdoor attributes we have in Arkansas really are economic development in this day and time, are they not?
I mean, the outdoor recreation industry in Arkansas, correct me if I'm wrong, it approaches $10 billion on the economic impact for manufacturers of outdoor, for ammunition, for all sorts of different things that touch on that outdoor industry. And you're right. We're right in the state that you can throw a rock and hit a beautiful space no matter where you are across and be in tune with nature. So what a great setting for that. But to your point, getting folks unplugged and engaged in the outdoors, as we say, there's no better place to have that in Arkansas. And I'm excited about the future of outdoor recreation here.
Absolutely. And one thing I've got to tell you, Deke, that I love about you and Director Booth, you've brought what I consider that younger way of thinking to both the foundation and the commission. And that is what in essence you're saying is, while those who hunt and fish are always going to be our premier customers, if you will, we're a huge landowner in this state, and we've got to serve those who hike and bird watchers.
Absolutely.
And so the commission really is cognizant of people who are using its lands for other outdoor recreational activities, right?
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, I'm usually wearing a shirt with the logo on it, but it's anything and everything under the sun. There's a board member of ours, Libby Davis, and Libby's so great. She learned to or took up deer hunting sort of later in her life, as she describes, and she's a bow hunter solely. I mean, she's great at that. But her real passion is in like this native seed and restoration projects of pollinators of and all that ties back into. I was going to say, if you're a master
naturalist and want to go for a hike, you go to Grandview to do that, not to hunt or fish, right?
Absolutely. So there's a whole plethora of people who can plug into the activities and programs that Game and Fish offers that may not be hooks and bullets, as we say, and the property across the state that the Game and Fish owns and manages, that's open for everyone. My mom can and should go enjoy some of these beautiful places that the Game and Fish manages across the state. And with our park system that you've mentioned, there are so many incredible spaces to go enjoy the outdoors. And then like Libby, who's already kind of into it, just never knew kind of how to get into the hunting. Now she's like a very passionate bow hunter. So we're turning folks into those hunters and anglers by exposing them to the outdoors.
And if you've got the right connections, like I luckily do, knowing Deke, somebody might even cook you a corned beaver sandwich when you get to one of those facilities.
Man, he may have to set up a little food truck down there, I think. What a gem. And, Will, let's talk about this a little bit. About one of, again, I've talked about the people. I saw
pictures he posted yesterday of specklebellies that he had killed, so I'm hoping for a goose dinner that maybe I can go back. Yeah.
But just to the testament to the fine folks that work for the Game and Fish Commission, Will gets out in an outreach education sort of spirit of, and puts on these cooking demonstrations. So you're teaching folks that yes, you can go out and harvest these animals, but it's not just about the trophy. It's not just, you're going out and having a delicious meal made out of it, even if it's a corned beaver sandwich. So
exactly.
There's so many wonderful things to tap into, and I just encourage folks to not only check out our foundation page, but the Game and Fish Commission, agfc.com. Gosh, there's events happening all across the state. There's programs with education. There's workshops for landowners. Really staying very busy in communicating with their constituents and across the state.
Absolutely. Deke, I knew our time would go fast because so many subjects I want to cover, so we'll have to get you back. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, Rex.
Deke Whitbeck is president of the Arkansas Game and Fish Foundation. Thank you for listening to the Southern Fried Podcast. I'm Rex Nelson. This has been a production of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette.